So do you want to convert more sales through webinars? In this video, I want to share with you the 3 pieces of the webinar puzzle. I've done over 500 webinars, generated over $1 million selling through webinars. And I can just tell you that these 3 elements are always there in all of my webinars. And I don't try to mess with this particular framework, which is what I'm going to share with you right now. Okay. There are 3 components to a successful webinar that can generate sales. And I want you to first understand that generating sales through a webinar is very different from just giving information in a webinar. Giving information is a different psychology altogether. But if it's going to be a sales webinar, it has to be engineered right from the word go. There is going to be information, but the purpose of the webinar is to provide information, engage, so that people can make a decision to buy. For that, stay till the end of this video. I'm going to give you some really cool tips. Hi there, Siddharth Rajshekhar here. Welcome to this video. And if you're watching this either on Facebook or YouTube or wherever, would love you to hit the subscribe button and hit that bell symbol, because I keep launching more videos like this, which are extremely valuable, extremely value packed in a short span of time. So let's dive straight into this topic. Now, this video or whatever you're going to be learning here will be useful, especially if you're somebody who's already running webinars, or you're planning to run webinars, or you're somebody who's doing already well in webinars, but you're looking for those finer pointers and tweaks to increase your conversion ratio. So whatever may be the category that you're in, you're going to get some pointers over here. Okay. Now, a webinar is divided into 3 components. And the first component of the webinar is your intro. And how you do that intro matters a lot, because people need to buy you first before they buy your product. And if you're not able to really establish a rapport and relationship with your audience right in that first 10-15 minutes, then there's no way you can expect high conversions when you actually offer your product at the end. So the intro piece, I'm going to give you some pointers. What all should be there in the intro part of the webinar? You can talk about your credentials, the results that you've got. You can talk about your story, where you're coming from. And it should not just be a very long story, because I see in some webinars, people go on and on and on about themselves. And the intro should be not more than 10 to 15 minutes. 15 minutes on the top side, 10 minutes is ideal if you ask me. Okay. So you start off by talking about your credentials, your story, some industry stats, where things are going, and why it is important for them to stay till the end of the webinar. That should be established very, very clearly. And you can also use the intro to set the context of the webinar. Like in my webinars, I set the context. I tell people, no, this webinar is going to go on for 90 minutes. So if you have any other appointments, you can leave. I tell them straight on the face, and people actually stay till the end. I have a very good sticky rate in my webinar, because I've set the context even before I start. I tell them it's a 90-minute session. If you have any questions, you can ask me that at the end. And number 3 is, I also mentioned that, participate, and I tell them to share their comments whenever I ask for that, so that I can keep them engaged more. And this is where most other web people who are doing webinars I've seen, like, it's so boring because they don't ask a response every few minutes. Asking for a response every few minutes will actually keep people engaged, and they will be tuned in. Otherwise, they get distracted with Facebook and WhatsApp and all the things that's going on. So the intro piece is where you actually set the context. You reveal your credentials. You talk about your story, and you talk about the industry stats, and make them realize why it is important for them to stay till the end of the webinar. If you get this piece right, you'll see a very good, a sticky rate in your webinar. People will stick till the end. Okay. Let's come to the second part of the webinar. The second component of the webinar is your actual content. And this is where you can either make it or break it. Yes, they may like you, they may trust you, you would have built a rapport with them. But if you're not able to over deliver value in your content, if you're not able to give them the stuff where they can really go ahead and use, whether they're going to buy your product or not is secondary, but if they're able to use the content and see if they're not blown away by the content, then again, you can't expect high conversions in a sales webinar. And for a content piece, I'm going to give you a framework now. I want you to keep for 15 minutes into 3 segments of content. There should be 3 chunks of content. Each chunk should focus on one area of focus, or maybe one secret or one golden nugget. That also makes it easy for you to plan your webinar. So 10 minutes intro, 15 minutes, 3 pieces of content, like golden nuggets, and go deep into the golden nugget. Talk about what is that golden nugget, why it is important for them, how they can implement it. Okay. And then you can tell them what is the next step. Okay, what's the next step to do? So you can even say that, okay, the next step, if you want to learn how to implement it, I'm going to tell you about that towards the end. I have my program that can help you implement this knowledge. So you can also do what they call a seeding. You're actually seeding the product right in between your webinar. Okay. And then you do the same thing for all the 3 golden nuggets. And if people are able to see the value with the golden nuggets that you're actually providing them, and if they're able to see a connect with the what you're offering them as a product, then you'll have very good conversions. Okay, so the webinar content, 45 minutes is it's good enough. So I've also tested this. Some of these segments have even gone up to, like, I've done 90-minute content webinars and I've seen my sales drop. I've done 2-hour content webinars, I've seen the sales drop. And I realized if it's a sales webinar, it has to be that 45 minutes of learning time, because after that people will start to zone out because they're ready to make a decision at that point of time. See, if I'm doing a training webinar for my inner circle group, I've gone even for 3-hour webinars where it's only purely focused on content. I'm not trying to sell. I'm not selling anything to them because it's a training webinar. But if it's a sales webinar, which is a combination of information and a product sale, don't go more than 45 minutes on your information. Okay. And keep it to 3 chunks and engineer it to every precision level. In fact, I have a course called Webinar Selling Formula where I actually minute to minute, I break down the entire, way on how I, generate sales through webinars. In fact, if you guys are interested at this point to get into my community, I would recommend that you go to this link. I'm just going to share with you one link. Okay. You go to sids.co/formula over here. Just note down this link. Go later after you finish this video and learn how over 7,000 people are actually going through my system and building a super profitable business. I have like hundreds of success stories of people who have been able to follow my webinar selling formula and are getting great results. Okay. So go and watch this later. Okay. Now let's come to number 3. What is the third principle? The third part of a webinar is your actual sales pitch, the webinar sales. And again, here you can either make it or break it. And I've seen a lot of people in my students, they say, yeah, they're able to do the intro part well. They're able to do the content part well. But when it comes to selling, they get a little bit jittery. They're not able to move forward, or they get a little overwhelmed, or they feel nervous when it comes to selling. Why? Because they've not practiced enough, or they may not be, very confident in selling. So I'm here to tell you one thing. If you are somebody who's thinking in your mind that, I only want to give knowledge and let people buy if they want. If you are in that mindset, you are going to be a broke sales guy. And I'll tell you why. Because I was in that situation before where I thought that giving information will automatically sell my product. And, I realized through my hard experiences that selling is a science. You have to follow the selling system. Giving information is fine. But when it comes to generating sales and getting people to pay you money, it is a game, it's a science. You have to follow that. And when it comes to the webinar sales, there's a proper sales pitch process. There's a template that I use. And every time I use the same template. Okay, first part of the template is I first want to qualify and disqualify people. In fact, I ask people to leave my webinar if they feel this is not the right thing for them. If they're not ready to make a decision, I ask them to leave the webinar because I want to speak to the serious people. And those people are serious. Then I walk them through the entire curriculum, the journey. I tell them what they're going to get. I'm going to tell them what is the actual value of the products and what is the webinar special that I'm going to give. And it will not be the final special offer. The final special offer will be right at the end. Okay. And then I add up the value. And once they're able to see the total value of what I'm giving them, which is actually that value if they try to buy directly on my website, then when I give them the special offer only for a short span of time for 15 minutes, I actually put down a countdown timer, and that is when people take action. See, because as humans, people are lazy. Most people are lazy because they don't want to make a decision. Okay. And if you've noticed, anything that you would have bought, you would have made the decision only if there is scarcity or there's urgency. And I need to honor that word. Okay. If I say in 15 minutes, I'm going to be closing it, I actually close it. And those people who get in, I actually welcome them in, and I, really, congratulate them, and I give them the orientation and stuff during that webinar itself. So selling is a process where people need to see the value, and that whatever offer you're giving, it has to connect with the content that you've shared. Like I've seen in some webinars, people, they share a lot of content, but the offer is something totally different. It's not matching. Okay. So if you want high conversions in the webinar, you need to, the 3 things need to align. The first thing is the message to market has to match. Okay. To get the right people into the webinar, and the market to offer should match. If the message to market to offer matches, if all these 3 align, then you'll have great conversions in a webinar. If the message to market, there's a mismatch, that means you'll have lesser show up rate in your webinar. If there's a market to offer mismatch, that means your offer is not strong enough. And people who are attending the webinar, they don't see that offer is strong enough to help them achieve their results. Because people don't buy products, people buy a better version of themselves. I'll repeat that. People don't buy courses and products just for the product. They buy a better version of themselves. They feel that if they buy the product, they're going to become better. That is the most important thing. Okay, so I hope these 3 points were very useful. The intro is important, the content is equally important, and the sales part is even more important. And once again, I want to tell you, like, if you want to learn the entire principle, what I've shared over here, get into my system, click on this, go to the link down, sis.co/formula, watch that my onboarding tutorial to get into my coaching system, get started, and you can be connected with me every single week where I will actually help you refine your entire process of your information business, right from conceptualization, niche finalization, curriculum design, course launch sequence, marketing the course, creating multiple layers, maximizing profitability, automating systems, building tribes. I mean, everything is under one place. Just come into my world, and I want to welcome you. Cheers, God bless, and keep watching out for my future videos. Bye-bye.